Hey everyone, so yesterday I wrote my very first Helm plugin and I thought this video might help. I'm going to walk through exactly what I did, line by line, step by step to show you what I did. Now, if you prefer to read this, I've already blogged about this, so it's in text form, but this is the screen share live coding version. So let's get straight into it. So the very first thing you're going to need to do is decide what your plugin is called. Now, Helm, when you run plugins with Helm, it's a way to kind of interject into what Helm is doing. So you run a plugin like this rather than doing, Helm install your plugin name. So Helm, if your plugin was called Echo, you would do Helm Echo install. And then during runtime, Helm's going to invoke your plugin logic, whatever it may be, and then run install. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a plugin. The first plugin we're going to call is create echo, and it's just going to take the command that the user typed in and just echo it back to them, and then run Helm as it usually does. Make a new directory in your plugins folder. By the way, plugins, it can be anywhere. So I've just called mine plugins on the local drive. So make a folder that's named the same as your plugin. That's important. The folder name must match what your plugin will be. So I'm going to make a directory called Echo. I'm going to change into Echo. And then the next thing you need to figure out really is who's going to be running your plugin. So is it Windows users? Is it Linux users? Are you going to kind of compile a Go binary or a Python executable and ship that? For this demo, I'm going to target any Linux user or Mac user. So I'm going to assume they have Bash. So inside the Echo folder, we're going to create the script that's actually going to run. So I'm going to create a shell script. Again, call it whatever you like. I'm going to call mine script.sh and start by defining the shell that will be run. So here I'm saying, please run this, whatever I give it in a bash shell. Now, when Helm executes your plugin logic, it helpfully passes everything along that you might need. So any of the arguments that the user passes to Helm can be accessed with the kind of magic or built-in bash $@. So for example, if I do echo $@, this will print out everything except the word Helm. So let's try that first of all. So first, I'm going to add the executable bit to my script. Obviously, the script needs to be executable. So let's check the script actually works. I'm going to run script.sh hello world. And I should, if this works, I should expect to have hello world echoed back to me. Cool. The script works. So how do I now package that up into a Helm plugin? Well, I need to create a new file called plugin.yaml at the root of this directory, so at the same level as script.sh. And again, the name is important. So the first field is the name of your plugin. So I'm going to call mine Echo. The next field is a version. So I'm going to give it, this must be semver2, so x.y.z. So I'm going to give mine 0.1.0. That is stipulated by Helm. That's not something I'm telling you, I'm making up. Then if you want to, you can provide some usage instructions to the user. And you can provide a longer description field again to the user. The ignore flags field is interesting. So if ignore flags is set to false, you get, Helm gives you whatever the user typed in the Helm command. So Helm echo whatever, you get exactly whatever they typed there. If you set ignore flags to true and they pass a -- set command, for example, or an argument, Helm is going to silently drop those commands. So for our purposes, we want exactly what the user typed. So I'm going to say ignore flags is false. I don't want to ignore any flag values that the user types in. I want exactly what they gave me. The command field specifies the default command that the plugin that will be run when the plugin runs. Notice as well that Helm plugin dir, that's kind of an inbuilt thing. Helm basically will set these environment variables. So you always know where script.sh is going to be when Helm installs it just by using that kind of magic variable. So we've got the default command, and now next up, of course, you might want to run slightly different commands for different operating systems. So Linux, of course, you might want to run a shell script. Windows, you might want to run a PowerShell script, and so on and so forth. So Helm allows that with a thing called platform command. You specify the OS, and this command inside here kind of overrides the default if it's set. So think of it as, if my operating system is Linux, I'm going to run line 9. If it's not, I'm going to kind of fall back to line 6. And the final little bit I'm going to add, of course, I'm in control of these files on my machine, but in reality, when someone installs this from the internet, they're going to pull this code down and things might not be executable. Remember, I set the executable bit. So Helm has a hooks command. One of them is install. So basically, when the plugin is downloaded, when all the files are downloaded, the very first thing I'm going to do is run a chmod command on that and say, okay, go set the executable bit for script.sh, and then the plugin will be able to be executed. Okay, so first, let's see how you can see which other plugins are installed. So Helm plugin list will show you what's currently installed. I've got nothing installed. Now let's install the plugin that we've just developed. We can do that by a similar command, helm plugin install dot, and dot just refers to the current directory, of course. And if it works, you should see installed plugin, whatever you called it, echo. Now let's try it. So if I run Helm version, I should just get the Helm version. No plugin activation. I haven't told Helm to run my plugin. If, however, I run Helm Echo, the name of the plugin, Helm Echo version, you'll notice I get version. So it's kind of overridden what Helm was going to do. We only get the word version. Helm Echo is chopped off. So we're going to need to rebuild the Helm command. Okay, so just to explain what's going on, I've still got my echo command that's going to echo the word version. Then I'm creating a new variable command to run. I'm prepending the word Helm and then just passing in exactly what the user sent. A little bit of a debug statement. We will run whatever the command is, and then I actually go and run the command. So in this way, I'm kind of interjecting myself into the Helm workflow, but then I'm just reissuing whatever the user told me to. So Helm echo version now still prints out the word version. That's from line 3. Then from line 7, we print we will run Helm version, and then we go and run from line 9 Helm version, and that's it. That is the bare bones of a Helm plugin. So let's now look at something a little bit more realistic, a little bit more useful. So this plugin is called Trace. I've changed to the directory called Trace, as we did before with the echo command. We're doing the same thing. We're building, we're saying run it in bash. We're building a command to run exactly what we did before with Helm, and then whatever the user passes us. Then in bash, we're checking for an environment variable called OTel-collector endpoint. And if it's not set, we're going to default it to a local host on a given port. Then we run the command. And then after the Helm command is run, whatever it may be, we use the seconds, the bash magic built-in seconds variable to basically count the number of seconds since we got from line 1. So since this script started executing, and that becomes the duration of the Helm command. Basically, we're saying, well, this Helm command took us however many seconds it took. Then we use a program called tracepusher, which is pre-installed on this machine. I've got it already. Tracepusher generates OpenTelemetry spans and pushes them to a collector. So in this case, I'm going to use that OTel collector endpoint, create a span with a service name called Helm and a span name that matches whatever the command is, and then send the duration. So this plugin gives us a way to visually generate OpenTelemetry traces for Helm, but also push them to a backend and visualize what's going on with Helm. So again, I'm going to do Helm plugin install dot installed plugin trace. Fantastic. I'm going to run Helm version just to check that nothing's broken. Perfect. Everything's fine. Now I'm going to run Helm trace version. I get my output for the Helm version. I get my little debug statement that says duration is 0 seconds because Helm version runs so quickly. And then I get a response code of 200. So what's going on here? Well, that response code 200 is coming from line 17. That's tracepusher being invoked to send the trace to a component called a collector, which I have running on localhost. And then I have the collector configured to talk to a backend, a UI, and a storage mechanism to store that trace called Jaeger. Eventually, the trace that I sent from the Helm plugin makes its way into our UI. And here we see a record of my Helm version. We can use this on any Helm command. So for example, Helm repo add, we can do Helm trace repo add. So let's do something that actually does take a little bit of time. Let's use the trace command to trace the installation of a Helm chart. Okay, so there you go. We've got our Helm chart deployed, and the duration was 31 seconds, and the response code was 200. So if we flick across into our Jaeger backend and find some traces, there we are, 31 seconds, and we've got a record of how long this trace took. That's how to create useful Helm plugins. I hope this was helpful. Go create some Helm plugins. It's really quite powerful. I'm sure you can think of lots and lots of ways to use this in your environment and in your stack. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you again later.